Okay, so exercise 4.2 is the first time where we have to write a function that returns multiple values. So we can see an example of the function here. It doesn't matter that much what it does right now, but we give it two input arguments. And then we can see here on the right hand side, instead of having a single value, we can see that it outputs two values. And tuples is actually the mechanism that allows us to do that using tuple packing and tuple unpacking, which I mentioned up here in 7.1. So now we'll see that in a new incarnation. First off, what does the function do? Well, it's given a list and a threshold, and then what it does is that it should return a new list only considering the elements that are greater than 2 in this case, and then it should also, as the second element, return the minimum value of the list. In this case, it's minus 0.5. Okay, let's copy paste this example and look at how we solve this problem. So I'll just go here to the files, returning multiple values. First, then I want to copy paste the example in, and then let's start exploring it. So first of all, let me just clarify how we can use tuples to write functions that return multiple values. So I'll just start Python like this. Now let's say we define a tuple. It has the value, I don't know, the first element is a list, 1, 2, and the second value is minus 0.5. Now this is a tuple. And then what I can in fact do is I can say a comma b is equal to t. And then, as I showed in 7.1, this actually means that it'll take this tuple, recognize, okay, there's a new tuple with two elements here on the left-hand side. So the first element is going to be assigned to A, and the second element is going to be assigned to B. This is called tuple unpacking. This is technically called tuple packing, but we just say we define a tuple. So that means basically that if t was the return value of a function, I could actually have written a comma b equal function that made a tuple, right, like this, where this is an appropriate function that just returns a tuple with two elements. And if you look at this, it's like what it does is that it looks exactly like we have a function that returns two values. In fact, it doesn't return two values, it returns a single value, and that single value happens to be a tuple with two elements. But it's just so convenient to say it returns two values that that's what we're going to do from now on. And that's what we're going to do here. So let's actually try to start implementing it, and I'm just going to return t because I need something to put a breakpoint on. Then I'm going to enter the debugger and start working on this problem. Oh, I can't enter the debugger when I'm in a terminal. So notice that I'm in a Python terminal, and that's why I get a weird mysterious message. So just look for the 3 equality signs. In that case, type quit. Oops. Complaint. And now I can just enter the debugger like this. Okay. So now when I'm in debugger, I can check that the values is the list and the threshold is, threshold is the threshold. Okay, so how do I get the min value? The minimum value, I can just do min on values, because min is a recognized function in Python on list that finds the minimum value. So that will give me the answer for the first one. For the second one, I guess I define a list, empty list, and then I have a loop for element in values. If element is greater than or equal to the threshold, I'm not actually sure if it should be greater than or equal, but I'm making a qualified guess. Then we append it to the list like this. And I'm sorry that I'm sort of mixing single letter variables and multi-letter variables. That looks a little ugly even to me, and I have a fairly high threshold for what looks ugly, but it should get the job done. Let's just check that it does. And the way I do that is that I select all the lines and then I run them in the terminal. I can do copy paste, or I could do Shift Alt E and that actually run these lines. And now I can just verify that L has been updated correctly and mean val is correct. So now I can define this tuple that I want to return as L, min val, and return the tuple, and that should solve the problem. So let's just confirm that by printing out the threshold list and the minimum value, and let's separate them by hand like this, so we can clearly see what happens. And now the function should actually be complete. So I save the file, I quit the debugger, and then I can start to run it. And it looks correct. So these two lines may look a little bit ugly. I can in fact simplify it by avoiding the t. So I can just do this. And it does the same, of course, because t is like not a variable. It's only a variable that was used here and here. And remember that what I said before, that we can define tuples using either commas and parentheses or just using the commas. So this will also define exactly the same tuple as before. So this will also work. And now again, if you do it like this, it looks like the function is returning two values, because I mean that's what it looks like visually. But in truth, we know that this function in fact just returns a single tuple that happens to have two values, and that is how like function with multiple values work. Okay, I think that's all I have to say about this one. Let's just confirm that the tests work. We don't. That's interesting. So let's go in here in the test and look at what it said. First differing element 0, so 5 didn't work. Let's just check what it was actually called on. So it's this line that fails. Why does you fail? Why do you fail? So I guess it fails to include 6. That's funny. I can't really spot, like the example seems completely straightforward, so I'm just going to copy paste the example and go back to returning values and just put it in here. Let's just do this example instead. Okay, so now let's try to run this file again. So it does include 6. It does also include 5. One second. What's supposed to happen here? Is it supposed not to? Bigger than the threshold. I guess maybe it is the case that it should be. Let me just check this. Let's just check this test again. Why does it fail? Yeah, I guess it. So it fails because my version output includes 5. Yeah. So their version doesn't include 5, and mine does. So it is the thing that I said before, and I was a little complacent there because I said, oh, it's probably bigger than or equal. It should just be bigger than. Okay, fine. Now it seems to do the right thing. Okay, so now it works. Okay, so I guess you need to read it really carefully, and I don't. Okay, so that was how you solved that problem. But I don't mind making mistakes like that, because I think it's important that that I also get to look at the test outputs and use that to actually identify what mistakes I'm making.